Hey guys, so the first thing that we're going to do in our lab is I need you to let me know who all's in your group. So a question's going to pop up just like it normally does. Everyone's just going to put their name in. That way I know who's there. Great. All right, everybody at the table, every group should have a plastic bag. And in that plastic bag are going to be these little cards. Each card has a different picture on it that's going to be a different part of the food chain. So if you'll recall yesterday when we made our food chains, we started at the top with a sun, which was created solar energy, right? That solar energy fed into the producers who used photosynthesis, right, to manipulate sunlight and carbon dioxide to produce oxygen and sugar. That sugar acts as the plant's energy. That's what the plant is going to use to grow, to feed itself, all sorts of stuff. So producers make their own food by using the sunlight, okay? So after that, we have a primary consumer. That's something that's first in line to eat the producer. Then after that, we have a secondary consumer. And then yesterday when we did our food chain, then we went right into decomposers. But in all actuality, that could go on for 5 and 6 links out. Okay, your food chain could be 6 or 7 links out before it finally gets to that apex predator, which is the person at the top of the food chain. Okay, a lot of times, even when you do a food chain, it's nice and neat, right? It kind of neatly shows where the arrows go, and where the arrow goes, that's right, the energy flows. So a food chain's nice and neat and straight. It's one right after the other, but we know that it's not always like that. When you have a tree and you have a grasshopper who eats leaves from a tree, it might also eat blades of grass. You have a frog that might eat flies, but it might also eat grasshoppers. You have a snake that might eat mice, toads, grasshoppers, whatever it can find. So in real life, that food chain gets a little sticky. It kind of goes off in all these different directions, and it creates kind of a web. So I want you to take your baggie and dump all the contents out on the table. Okay? In it, you should have several different pictures of things. First thing I want you to do is separate them into producer, consumer, decomposer. You'll have to remember that a producer is something that produces its own food. A consumer is anything that eats another organism for energy, and a decomposer is, that's right, anything that breaks down waste or dead animals, dead organisms, okay? Keynote here, decomposers don't kill anything, all right? So they're not taking something that's alive, killing it, and eating it. They're coming upon things that are already died, and then they're decomposing of it, breaking it down, all right? So they're not killing off anything. They're not predators. It's not a predator-prey relationship, no. It is taking things like the leaves that fall from the trees and fall. It's breaking those down. Those don't just disappear. They decompose by the bacteria, the fungi, worms, stuff like that. So take your cards and separate them into the different groups. So I've got my different groups here. I've got my producers, I've got my consumers, and then I've got my decomposers, all right? I also have a picture of the sun, because the sun is the source of all energy that comes from the earth. All of it starts with the sun. So that's going to be at the top. All right, so now we have to think about what the sun is going to do. Well, the sun is going to shine on our producers, and our producers are going to essentially produce their own food, okay? After our producers produce their own food, the sun, there's going to be an arrow from the sunlight. Do you want to come show now with my, yeah. So from the sun, there will be an arrow, a transfer of energy from the sun to the aromatic sumac and to the trees. Transfer of energy, there will be an arrow there. Now you have to ask yourself, well, what comes next? Okay, well, I know that this field cricket could probably eat the aromatic sumac or leaves from a tree, so I could put that right there. I know a barn owl might eat a field cricket, okay? I know that a deer definitely is gonna eat probably the berries or tree leaves, okay? I know that a toad is probably gonna eat the cricket, but I know the owl's also gonna eat the cricket. And then I know that the mountain lion is gonna eat the deer and may even eat the barn owl. And honestly, it may even eat the toad if it's hungry enough. It definitely, the mountain lion is gonna be at the way top of our food web here, okay? And then I've got my decomposers down here, my worms and my fungi. And these are going to decompose everything. So the tree when it dies, or the leaves that it shed, or the bark that falls off of it, the decomposers take care of. The same thing with the berries and the leaves, the decomposers take care of. When the deer dies, maybe of natural causes, or the mountain lion hunts the deer and leaves the bones and everything left, that's when the bacteria, the worms, the fungi, that's when they're gonna step in. So this is kind of an outline of what my food web is gonna look like. All right, so you will take, but it's missing one thing. It's missing the arrows, because we know that where the arrow flows, the energy goes. So each one of these has to have an arrow pointing to what it's gonna be consumed by. The sun is consumed by the plants. The plants are going to be consumed by the deer. This deer could eat the berries and the trees, so it's going to have 2 arrows. Field cricket's going to have 2 arrows. The toad is going to have 1 arrow, or the cricket's going to be consumed by the toad. The barn owl can maybe do both. So you have to think about all that, and in the end, it's going to look something like this. This is going to be your finished product. So you'll see here that this is the food web, okay? This is my source of energy, the solar energy, all right? I've got a transfer of energy here and here, okay? All these different arrows are going all sorts of directions. My seagrass goes to the consumer, this is a manatee, and this is a turtle, okay? The fish also get consumed by the seagrass, okay? The turtle also can eat the kelp. The manatee can eat the kelp. The decomposer, look at all these brown arrows coming to the decomposer, and all of them I have labeled transfer of energy. The fish here are going to get consumed by possibly the shark. The turtle could get consumed by the shark. The manatee's consumed by the shark. Believe it or not, the manatees, while most of the time they eat plants, they have been known to eat fish occasionally, so that could happen. Okay, so this is what a finished food web looks like. Notice it's got every source of energy, consumer, producer. All of these are labeled, which is what you'll need to do. And then all of them have the transfer of energy showing. So you'll want to take the pieces of paper that you have, that you've arranged, you'll want to glue them on to your food web, and then we'll want to use the crayons in your bucket to draw our lines and our transfer of energy. Be sure you're working together as a group and encouraging each other and being kind, okay? I'll be walking around the room to help you if you have any questions. That's kind of it. Good luck, guys.